Ko papa o te rā, ara I ngā pitu kōrero ki ika. Ko Nikki Sutherland tōku ingoa, he kai whakahaere mātua ahau ki te tari tiaki pūngao ara ika. He mihi ko ana kia koutou. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really, really pleased to have your time and that you're interested in hearing about the latest EECA news. I'm Nikki Sutherland. I'm the GM for Business Programs at EECA. And today we've got a pretty interesting lineup on the next slide, which will be presented by the four people that you've got in front of you. We have our CE, Dr. Marcus Palliner, and myself. We have Claire Falk, Manager of Clean Tech, and we have Glenn, who is our MC and Manager of Products and Partnerships. So let's look at the agenda. We've got an eagerly anticipated update on our Minister and the new government's direction from our CE. We'll be running through the Giddy Fund wrap-up process. We've got some time to look at EECA's refreshed priorities in the year ahead. And then we're going to hand over to Glenn, who's going to run through what should businesses and consultants be focusing on in 2024 in this new context. And finally, we'll finish in the usual way with questions, followed by final wrap-up when we outline what we're likely to show you in our next update, which is in April. So I would like to hand over first to Claire Falk, who's going to give you some information around the Giddy wrap-up process.
Kia ora koutou. The government has confirmed that funding previously allocated to the Giddy Fund, the Government Investment in Decarbonising Industry Fund, has been withdrawn and reprioritised. This means that all programs that allocate Giddy funding have been cancelled. Giddy is not the only source of funding for EECA. EECA receives funding from a variety of sources and our work continues. We have begun work gleaning insights and lessons from these projects that we know will help others. On the 13th of October 2023, the application process for all Giddy funded pilots and programs stopped. These are listed on the slide and are Giddy Infrastructure, Electrical and Biomass, Giddy Industrial, Giddy Commercial Buildings, Clean Tech Hot Water Heat Pumps, Clean Tech Commercial Lighting, Clean Tech Electric Motor Systems. The Minister has confirmed there is no intention to cancel or enforce Giddy contracts any differently to how we already do. That means that current contracts will continue on the agreed terms and conditions, and EECA's contract management will be unchanged. We continue to work hard to ensure that energy efficiency, emissions reductions and targets are achieved. Now that the fund has closed, EECA is not in a position to consider offering grant funding for any projects through the Giddy process. We have been in contact with everyone affected, including applications that did not progress. The cancellation of the Giddy fund was signalled and everyone has been understanding. We have started discussions with other government agencies for opportunities to pick up projects, and we are looking at whether any might fit into categories where funding continues, such as tech demo. Now to the clean tech programs and pilots. You may not be aware that all clean tech programs and pilots were funded by Giddy. They're more about energy efficiency than decarbonisation, though deliver benefits for both. For electric motor systems, commercial lighting and the hot water heat pump program, we are exploring alternative ways to support them through stakeholder collaborations. We expect to be in a position to share more information in a month or two. For that reason, we aren't disassembling the systems we put in place for these programs yet. However, if they continue, they will be tweaked to ensure best alignment with the new government's priorities. You can expect smaller programs though. For clarity, All cleantech pilot and program funding has ended, and any future opportunity using the same systems will be clearly communicated to those who have an interest in this. Next slide, please. Decarbonisation projects are hard. They take commitment, time, and money. Congratulations to those who have tackled significant industrial and commercial projects over the last few years and have come out on the other side. A huge well done to these businesses, suppliers, and industry experts who helped get them there. Let's take a look at some of these highlights.
The fund, formerly known as GIDI, which yes is an odd difference, led to a step change in decarbonisation progress. As at the 1st of February 2024, 119 projects had been co-funded. That's 88 industrial, 2 partnership, 1 commercial buildings and 28 cleantech. 40 projects were complete or in commissioning. Government had committed 350 million of co-funding, and business had matched this with over 1.1 billion. The annual CO2 abatement of co-funded projects was 1.8 million tonnes, and the lifetime abatement was 26 million tonnes. So again, just a congratulations to those involved in this monumental step change. I would like to hand over now to our CE, Dr. Marcos Palinur, who is going to give you an overview of our new minister and the new government direction.
Hello, everybody. First off, thank you for your time today. Really important stakeholders, and our engagement with the market and the work you guys do is what enables EECA and New Zealand Inc. Brings all the decarbonization, but also regional economic benefits. So I'm going to provide a little bit of context and update. As Claire mentioned, and I'm sure for many folks, disappointing to hear the hopefully not surprising, the closure or finishing up of GIDI. Nikki and the team will talk through other opportunities. We're still absolutely committed to working with the market on decarbonization, energy transitions, and energy efficiency. Still part of our core. Still what the government has signed up to. They've committed and reaffirmed their commitment to New Zealand's decarbonization pathway and targets 2030 and 2050. They've also signed up to doubling energy efficiency and renewable energy at the latest COP. Our Minister of Energy, Simeon Brown, he is very focused on market-led solutions and looking at what can the role or how can the government facilitate and enable market solutions. And so how do we drive in or bring in private investment towards energy decarbonization transitions? There's at the moment a very big emphasis and top of mind for him around security of supply is one of the areas that he's looking closely at. Also in Wellington, as you would have been sort of reading, a lot of the focus is just ensuring that the government is going through its fiscal restraint process and enabled to deliver on Budget 24. So conversations with the minister have really been focused on him understanding his portfolio, re-emphasizing his focus areas on security of supply and market-led solutions, and thinking about, he's thinking about his role in the portfolio and how he can help deliver the government's Budget 24 targets. So we're going to go through this sort of period right now of the next few months of, I think the new government still finding its feet. And then afterwards, we'll be able to then really start to understand their priorities, how they want to engage with the market, and then reshape our activities to support that. We've always been working collaboratively in partnership with the sector and in businesses, and I fully intend for us to continue to do that. There's a number of different opportunities and support mechanisms that we have at EECA, and so with Giddy gone, we'll be able to just have more energy and time to fully develop those and roll those out. That's my context from Wellington here and EECA. I think the key messages are fully committed to working in partnership with business and industry. The government is still signaled its commitment to decarbonize energy and the importance of energy efficiency. The big change will be from a more directed intervention approach to a market-led approach. And the government's role is going to be to facilitate or enable that market-led approach. So I will now pass it over to Nikki.
Thanks, Marcos. And given that context, we know that there's going to be keen interest in where EECA is heading for the year ahead. Closure of the Giddy Fund, new government direction. So it's still early days, and we know that we'll need to undertake a formal strategy refresh. But we thought that we knew enough that we could pull together for you on a page an overview of where we'll be focused based on what we currently know. So this is what we've got on this next slide for you, and I'm just going to run through it. Categorized it into 3 areas, and you, as Marcos just relayed, there's got to be this real focus on putting the foundations in place or enabling businesses to do or players to do what they ought to be doing. So rather than government having such a direct intervention role, there's going to be a lot more focus on enabling. So we think that we're going to have some key areas in helping put those foundations in place for the transition nationally. We're going to have a really key role, as we already do, but it did have to be downplayed with Giddy and helping businesses understand how to start and what to do. And then that's for business. And then we're also, of course, going to be supporting individuals and communities. So I'm just going to run through, I'm not going to give too much detail, but I'm going to run through what those are because they are things that come through as quite clear focus areas. Look, just to start in terms of putting the foundations in place with standards and regulations, because this is really a top priority for us. So it's a very high priority for us to amend our Act and regulations so we can regulate all products and ensure that they've got the smartness to interact with the wider network and support, in particular, demand flexibility and support that at scale. Sorry, I'm just going to get rid of a pop-up. A lot of you will know that demand flexibility benefits consumers through efficiency and cost savings, and it also benefits the wider energy system by minimising peak load and optimising network asset investments. So look, this fits in really well with the government's priority for security of supply, if you think about the peak issues, and also fits in really well with their plank of electrifying New Zealand. So we're working on smart chargers for EVs targeted at use in the home, and if smart chargers become standard, then we can significantly reduce peak demand issues, meaning lower electricity bills for charging and fewer line upgrades. So that's the only one I'm really going to give quite a lot of detail on, but wanted to because it is quite a top priority. So we're going to be doing work focused on supporting renewable energy supply chains. We're going to continue the work that we already do in workforce capability, continues to be super important. And access to quality technology and support for technology suppliers. And we really hope that we can do more in that space with the technology suppliers. EV charging infrastructure and regulation, super important. And I'm told by our transport experts that you can expect to see us moving beyond demonstration of potential transport solutions and really focusing on seeding or fleet electrification support. So how do we get those clearly demonstrated projects into more widespread uptake? In terms of helping businesses understand how to start and what to do, our business advisory function continues. We do that with large energy users. We do it with our SMEs who have valuable projects, and we do it through our sector program. Our RETA program continues as well. We've got a big milestone coming up with publication of finishing the South Island, which is awesome, and publication of the South Island report. And so it's very busy in the North Island. And the information that's coming from that for businesses is absolutely valuable. you can expect to see us revamp the funding that we do for demonstration, which we do through our Tech Demo Fund at the moment. And we're always looking at opportunities for scaling that up. We haven't had the bandwidth because of GIDI. So we're going to try really hard to see what we can do in that space. We will be prioritising insights. We will be absolutely putting that at the front of our to-do lists, because we know that we have a lot of insights that need to be better shared with the market, and that you guys have them as well. And partnership is going to be quite key to our ability to do that successfully. And then finally, in this little space, we have new work helping businesses respond to the RMA National Direction. I really hope everybody on the call knows what that means. The National Direction on greenhouse gases from industrial processed heat. Huge piece of regulation, probably not quite well enough understood, really significant. And we're doing a lot of work to help businesses transition to that nationally. And then, of course, we continue providing information and resources for individuals and communities through GenLess and the Warmer Kiwi Homes program that is so core to EECA and so well appreciated and valued across the country. So that's really what I wanted to say about strategic priorities. I hope that's been useful. I'm going to hand over to Glenn now, and he's going to go down into more detail around where businesses should focus, given the narrower span of opportunities with EECA.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, Nikki. Kia ora koutou, everyone. Actually, just if you've got questions, just for the partai later on, if you've got questions, pop them in the Q&A. We've got 132 people on the call, so we'll manage those over the Q&A rather than verbally. So yeah, if you've got some questions, put them in there. Yeah, look, hopefully I'm here to state the obvious and preach the converted, all those good statements that we're all used to, because the good work really needs to carry on. Yeah, Leroy, if I just pop on to the next slide. As Marcos has highlighted, the government's reiterated their commitment to the Paris targets, and businesses are expected to take part in that, let alone that doubling in energy efficiency and renewable energy. I think if I reflect on, going back pre-GIDI when EECA launched ETA, the uptake and drive of businesses to identify decarbonisation plans, energy efficiency, electrification, really key parts of that, and we're going to see more of that going forward. So, like I say, hopefully, I'm just going to state some of the obvious here, but it's really important we maintain momentum, and this period of change doesn't drive any inertia. So. International markets and increasingly the local consumer markets are expecting to see this from business, and it's not just about business. Obviously, many of the people on the call here are the key stakeholders, the consultancies, the other partners and solution providers that are really key to drive that. Look, the usual things: having a plan, optimise, innovate. Sort of key taglines, but all of that starts with the business understanding their energy use, understanding what their carbon emissions are, and really understanding, how that's generated through their processes. Laying out that plan, ideally a decarbonisation plan, quite technical, sort of integrated into your business process. It's not all about the fossil fuel use or the utilities. Don't want to get too technical. Might confuse myself, but yeah, it's not just about the utilities. It's that strategic part, all the processes. Optimizing your production, even in a growth scenario, really important opportunity to potentially reduce energy use or increase energy productivity. But we're going to keep hammering on energy efficiency first, and a key thing in a time like now, even if you think maybe the global financial sort of scenarios, often energy efficiency projects, they pay for themselves. They just need that focus level of technical understanding to identify them and then implement. Even some of those, demand reduction or optimization focused carbon emissions reduction projects will likely pay off, even against current ETS prices. But obviously, ETS is going to be a key factor going forward as well. So. really focusing on that low-hanging fruit. Every project is an opportunity, even if we're going to talk sort of the energy and utilities part, a chiller replacement might be a heat pump project for heat generation, heat recovery. But even if an expansion project or a refurbishment project is a really important part of taking the opportunity to optimise your energy use and ultimately potentially decarbonise in that whole stage. So, and that's where that aligning your plan with your strategic asset management sort of processes. A fossil boiler at some point in time is going to need replacement or refurb. That's an opportunity to focus on that. Actually, on the energy efficiency part, obviously really important, to focus on that fossil fuel optimization as well, around your process heat and the likes. Innovate, I suppose this is, we all think about the new technologies, what's coming down the pipe, but for many businesses who've got to, focus on boilers, but it's about any technology or any process. Innovations happened probably since they last put that piece of kit in. So, and even the laggards, we need to sort of try and keep moving away from like-for-like replacement, some of those usual behaviours, and looking at some of these, like we talked about, there'll be plenty of insights coming, particularly out of the GIDI projects. There's plenty out there already. When you do need to make that next project decision, looking at what's become today's BAU, like sort of saying there, particularly around heat pumps and some of those technologies that have really advanced with the extra investment that's happened in them more recently. I'll touch on it a bit more on the next slide, but engaging with the information, often it's that knowing where to start. EECA's got plenty. Our partners, the partners we work with, the other key players, be it carbon energy professionals, bands, right through to the gentailers, EDBs, EDAs, even economic development agencies. There's lots of good information out there. Actually, before you commission an expert, that focus on upskilling, capability and capacity building is always going to be a key thing. But upskilling your staff first. But if you haven't got that skill set internally, looking at the consultant market, engineering market, or other key solution providers and stakeholders to try and get that expertise to really help get over that initial start phase. Nikki's touched on the national direction, because while we're all trying to maintain momentum and self-implement projects and identify these projects, there is that element of regulation that is still there, and industrial sites that emit more than 500 tonnes of CO2, many of them wouldn't have had to have a consent before, will now need to consider getting a air discharge consent, because greenhouse gas emissions will be considered part of that. So yeah, there's more information available on that, but if we just jump onto the next slide, probably a little bit of a recap on what Nikki's already sort of run through, but I'll touch on it again. Energy Transition Accelerator Program has been running for a number of years now. Businesses, certainly starting at the large end, are really engaged, but obviously we've expanded that into the sector program as well, trying to help those medium to small emitters. So there's lots of information, resources. If you're a smaller business, tapping into those, even if you're a consultant, stakeholder, insights and other information that are supported in there, really good resource set to tap into. RETA, Regional ETA, I think that's been focused on commercial industrial process and space heating emissions, but the supply side information, be it biomass supply, electricity network supply, there's lots of insights in there for other business types too, be it a large transport project, electrification project. There's useful information that for a whole broader set of businesses, and we'll touch on it shortly. Looking at how we bring more of that to the market. Sector touched on account managers. We continue that support with the large energy users, but we do have a SME senior account manager as well, who will be more project focused. So we can support sort of that feasibility study stage through Ben to look at key projects where there's a real commitment from the business to deliver. Our technology demonstration fund continues. Obviously, some feasibility support where we're looking to get some of those key new technologies, heat pumps greater than 100 degrees, electric drying, microwave drying, RF drying, a whole range of technologies. There's quite a bit going on the mobile plant and off-road fuel space as well. Lots of electrification going on there, lots of opportunity there. So looking to keep doing good work in that space. Low emissions transport programs continue, insights, case studies, and like I've touched on already, all the partners out there, key stakeholders who've got other complementary resources, and we continue our work with the likes of CEP and bands, and our focus in trying to still help that skills and capability area as well. So not just with information, but supporting those partners directly. So that's sort of a little bit more detail on how we can help. I think we might be on to questions, and because I've been talking, I haven't had a chance to quite track them, but I'll do my best to catch up from the top. Maybe one for you, Nikki, about just an update on the state sector funding, state sector decarbonisation fund that Paul's team has been running, and is there any update on that and what's happening to that?
Yeah, this is one of these funds that's in it's caught in the government period where things are being considered, and so we don't have any information for that on that, but we imagine that it should be a couple of months away. One thing that Marcos didn't say when he was sharing some information on the new government direction is that the government has said that it will set out its policies for meeting the Paris targets in June. So we can really expect a flurry of activity around commitment to policy in a few months.
Cool. Question here from Irene. I'll pick this one up around the REECA program. Will it continue at the same pace or faster, or be redirected? Yeah, currently we're charging on. Actually, that program's moved at pace. It may not always feel like it, but there's a lot of work going on there. So we have kicked off. So we've covered all the South Island. We're about to publish an overarching South Island aggregated view as well. We are well underway in getting to publishing reports on Northland, Tairāwhiti and Bay of Plenty. We've kicked off Taranaki, Hawke's Bay kick-off in the Waikato this afternoon. Wanganui, Manawatu to follow in the near future. And that leaves sort of Wellington and Auckland, which we'll get into, the pipe, Auckland being quite big, and a lot of medium to smaller users, which take a bit more time to sort of get the right pre-information on. Wellington maybe a little less, particularly when it comes to sort of that industrial process heat, but still a region will definitely close out as well. So that program is charging on in the planning phase. Obviously working on some initiatives around implementation, and a key part of that is enabling our existing channels and funding to keep working with those businesses and the supply side to make sure the opportunities identified there to get to market. Maybe one for you, Nikki. Do you expect any future funding streams for solar panels and the like for businesses and or local government?
Wouldn't rule it out. Nothing specific at the moment. There's another question here around what would our support for renewable energy supply chains look like? And I think this is an area where to date we've been working with EDBs on looking at support options to overcome first mover disadvantage, to look at how they can more agilely fund distribution network development, so that does accelerate decarbonisation. And we've done a lot of work in the biomass space. So I think that there's a lot more scope for us in the year going forward than there was last year to expand more into that area and to look more at solar, at alternative fuels, potentially have another look at biofuel or liquid biomass. And but no current specific plans.
Okay, cool. I might put this one to you too, Nikki. Oh, there's a couple here from Tony. Can EECA pivot to help businesses understand future energy supply, i.e. limited gas or future price pressures? And sort of aligned with that is also, can EECA look at how they help businesses understand the use of the likes of PPAs and CFDs and some of that broader stuff? Obviously, there's been a bit of focus around the parts that enable a decarbonisation project, including flexibility and how that might aid. But there's just a suggestion there. Maybe we could be playing more of a role. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a request more than a question. But if we had chocolate fish that we could post out, you'd get one, Tony. Thank you very much. It's really great to get suggestions from people on areas where more insights would be valuable. These are fantastic ideas. We should absolutely do them. And I'd just put a request to anyone else who has an idea for an insight that you think that EECA, as a neutral, authoritative, neutral, independent arbiter, should be investing in for the benefit of everybody. Please email either one of the addresses at the end or just me directly, nikki.sutherland@EECA. It'd be really, really useful to hear from you. We'd try and be very user focused in what we put out, and that'll help us enormously. So thanks, Tony.
And actually, Tony's prolific there today. There's another one around the value and cost savings of demand response solutions, which I think where we've been working with, say, some of the GIDI projects around flexibility. The gentailers and energy companies, certainly their expertise in helping with that. Flex Forum, other partners that are developing in the space too. So yeah, definitely take that feedback and look at how we can help with information in that area. Just to save me typing the answer, Marcus, I'm not sure what a TDF is, unless Nikki, you know is there funding available for TDF? If so, how much? And
I thought it was the Tour de France. Is it not, Marcus?
Feel free to just
wish there
expand
was.
on TDF.
So we'll answer it when we get more confirmation.
When are your rounds of the Low Emission Transport Fund expected? I don't know that myself directly. Nikki, have you got a view on that?
Yes, I understand that we have the apparatus ready to go and we're waiting for an okay from the Minister. So that's my understanding, although obviously I'm not the GM for that area. So it could be corrected, but I think that's what the case is, which means it's out of our hands at the moment.
I should have known. TDF, Technology Demonstration Fund. Sorry, Marcus, that's an area. Yeah, there is funding available for Technology Demonstration Fund. Get in touch with myself or even through one of the emails at the end. Dinesh manages that program and definitely looking for new and innovative solutions in energy efficiency and decarbonisation. So good there. Is there a strategic shift at EECA to focus more on energy efficiency and less on decarbonisation? I think energy efficiency first has always been a key principle. The likes of all our ETA sort of programs and products focused on energy efficiency first, demand reduction to try and optimise those later, fuel switching projects. Certainly a key part. And Nikki, if there's anything additional there, they sort of go hand in hand, I suppose, is what I'm saying. But
I think we'll be even Stevens on them in terms of EECA strategy. But the reality is that in the current economic environment, we're more likely to have cut through and uptake by businesses for the projects that are cost effective, and those will be, by and large, more likely to be energy efficiency ones. So we may be focusing on energy efficiency for impact reasons, but not for strategic reasons.
Yeah, and I think, like I touched on with businesses, some of the idea behind getting funding is obviously try and accelerate transition, help projects that weren't going to happen in the near future, particularly. Increasingly more important that you focus on, that fossil fuel energy efficiency. If that means a project, it's still going to happen further down the track. So, there's definitely a level of importance there. A few more to go here. Boiler electrification projects. There's not specifically funding for boiler electrification projects currently. We were doing that under GIDI, obviously. We've sort of probably tapped that out a bit at the in the tech demo space. We've got supported, and we've seen through GIDI some really large ones coming through. So it's become a pretty well proven technology. There's a question here around sort of energy storage. That's probably a little bit aligned with the solar. Similar answer to the solar question. Battery storage and any thoughts on focus and promoting it more. I think certainly that whole be it flex, be it batteries, be it distributed and self sort of generation like solar is all an important part of the mix.
And I wouldn't rule it out for demonstration funding either. If it's innovative, we're pretty open. Depending on replicability, innovation value, etc.
Question around, is there funding available to help business with emissions reductions plans for the national direction? That's something we're looking at the moment. There has been a little bit of support in that plan area. Obviously, with it, the regulation and the non-statutory guidance that comes with it, we just need to make sure the products align and things like that. So we're definitely looking at that space. So looking for an update there. Key focus for many decades has been energy efficiency. Graham's just asking sort of that similar question, making sure we're not moving away from energy efficiency. Is there funding for those sorts of programs? So we do have some optimisation funding targeted in certain areas. Certainly key that work still carries on. Obviously energy efficiency is a really important part of it. Direct funding at the moment, on a broader sense, still one of those things that we would need to consider more broadly as we move forward. Certainly not thrown out with the bathwater though. Question I can't answer. Maybe might not even one for you. Brian King is just answering around EECA's financial and policy support for the adoption of international IEC and ISO technical standards. We do have a standards and regulations team that do a lot more of that alignment for us, working with Standards NZ. There is still a focus there. I don't think any of us on the call today can answer that question specifically, but happy to follow up, Brian, if you want to drop a note and understand more about what we're doing.
I think just to make the comment that if the new government direction is moving more towards putting the systems in place that enable things to happen, then you could expect more investment or priority in standards that are needed, regulations that are needed, etc. So while I don't know the answer to this, I know that the strategy or the strategic direction, very high level behind it.
Yep. Question here around what's EECA's ask of consultants and how can we help EECA's cause? Look, it's the key part of our partnerships, be it the industry bodies we work directly with, or the consultant market. You are connected to more businesses directly than EECA is. It's really important. Probably as much as anything, and I know this often comes back to funding, but we've had some good suggestions and insights. Probably, not to answer a question with a question, but it's just making sure, we are sort of helping and enabling you, and it's can't always come back to funding, obviously. So in my area, products and partnerships, we, a lot of EECA are working with that consultant market, but if you've got a query or question, happy to get in touch and we can be a central point to that. We are working on, putting up a supplier listing, we're calling it, sort of, consultants and those broader consultants that are involved in the energy and carbon management space. So look out for that if you want to sort of register there, which aligns with some of the products we do still provide funding for, but it's more of a resource so we can highlight businesses that are a key part of this whole energy efficiency and decarbonisation process. So keep engaging with businesses of all types, sizes, trying to help them get over that first barrier, what to do, where to start. That's really key.
Glenn, if I might just add to that, I think everybody's aware that we're in a season at the moment where the environmental conditions are not great, or the economic conditions rather are not great. A lot of businesses are under pressure.
Yes.
And yet we've got this need to meet the Paris targets, and it feels like the current need at the moment, or it could be a good opportunity to focus on getting businesses ready. So exploring the project potential, looking at those energy efficiency opportunities, but really focusing on getting things ready so that when economic conditions change for that particular company, or it's worked out how to make the best of things, they're ready to go.
Yeah.
When I spoke at the CEP conference last year, we'd had a look at the number of projects that we needed to see happen in New Zealand, and the stats on how many feasibility studies transitioned into a project, and it was 3 to 1. So if we need 100 projects happening, we need 300 feasibility studies happening this year. So I really think that New Zealand, led by the consultants and businesses as well, but for consultants to focus on the feasibility studies, the project identification, and really focusing on their energy efficiency opportunities.
Cool. Maybe 2 more questions that I haven't got to yet, and then we'll probably move on, I think, unless there's any last minute ones that pop up. Just a sort of a request to sort of broadcast or publish the technology products and partners and suppliers that would help energy efficiency projects. I think, so we do a lot of tech scans, and we do publish that information, maybe not always the suppliers feeding in through those, but through our sector program and more broadly through our insights. But as been touched on a couple of times, certainly the focus will be insights from the GIDI projects and other projects that EECA have been supporting and involved with, and highlighting those technologies, those projects. And it's not just about the technology; it's about the learnings from those implementations, what went well and what didn't, and how to help and optimise the next similar project with other businesses. So that'll certainly be a focus and insights piece. And maybe one last one for you, Nikki, the $1 million question. Do you anticipate that GIDI could return, or a similar part funding mechanism sometime in the future?
Yeah, well, goodness knows, it's going to be really interesting to see what comes through before the end of the financial year from government, if Cabinet is going to be setting its new policies to meet the targets then. The new government is really focused on its 100-day plan at the moment. There will come a point in time in future when it realises what meeting the targets might mean for purchase of offshore credits, and it will need to develop a plan for that. So putting a plan in action that means grants to business, I think, is very unlikely given the government's philosophy. So if I was a business out there saying, should I wait in case there's a grant coming down the line, I would bet on no. And with increasing cost of projects constantly being a constant thing, don't wait. But who knows where we'll be in a year's time once that realisation kicks in.
Yeah, cool. Tanya, I'll answer your question directly separately. It's quite specific, and it's a RETA question. I can handle that. And the last question, just so we move on and wrap things up, regarding the RETA data that's available. It's actually in what's coming up next. So Leroy, thanks for your questions and your time, and hopefully we've answered some of those. You'll be able to contact us directly if you've got more. But look, what's coming up in the April EECA market update, currently in the schedule, so related to that reader question around some of the information that's available. We've been looking at GIS mapping of the information, certainly the information we can share, not any commercially sensitive information of the businesses involved and things like that. But so there are layers of data there. Yeah, anyone who's got interest in the data can get in touch, and there may be parts we can share. But look at these resources that are going to come out in the future that'll help with some of that anyway. Like I've mentioned previously, a combined South Island report looking at some of the interrelatedness between those regions that we've studied individually. We are looking to establish a more general manufacturing pathway. You know, in our sector program, sector focuses on quite homogenous processing, high energy and carbon intensive sectors, but we're looking at a way we can help more businesses more broadly, particularly where some of those manufacturing sectors are quite diverse. So it'll be just a good landing place and sort of reference materials and tools within our sector program. So that's something to look forward to. And you know, we've touched on it a bit today. We're hoping to introduce where we're getting to with potentially some new programs and support that we're working on currently, and who knows what else might happen between now and April. So look, might as well put up that last slide, Leroy, with contact information. Again, thanks for your time. Hopefully we've given you some insights, answered some questions, maintaining some momentum as well. So thanks again, kia pai te rā, and yeah, have a great day. Cheers.